All right, I am back. I have two friends who basically one of them is a cybersecurity manager and one is a cybersecurity engineer, and they have been asking me about um OpenVAS. Okay, so basically, what is OpenVAS? And my friends they are very familiar with Tenable, Nessus Tenable, and they're trained on it, so they know how to use it. Um, and however, at work they were required to use OpenVAS, and they kind of like weren't very happy about it because they say it's not very intuitive to use. So I decided to create this as kind of like a primer for them to explain the basics of how to use OpenVAS. Um, just a disclaimer, I'm not an expert on OpenVAS. I'm actually more familiar with Tenable. I'm a Tenable pre-sale certified. Yeah. So anyway, not wanting to waste too much time, I'm just going to go straight into the objectives for today. All right, so I have two objectives today. I have the primary objectives and I have the secondary objectives. And the primary objectives, we're going to cover things like we're going to log into the OpenVAS console. Um, the console is pretty simple. You can log in via the IP address, okay, HTTP or HTTPS, if depends on your setup. And the port is 9392. Okay, and after which we'll create a target and we'll create a scan config, and then we'll create a new task and we'll start running the scan. Okay, and if we do have a little bit of time, I'll cover a little bit about the community feeds because the one that I'm using right now, OpenVAS, this is they have the free and the enterprise edition. The one I'm using is the free community edition. So the free community edition uses community feeds, and yeah, and if you have a little bit more time, I can cover a little bit on the custom dashboard. Okay, all right. So um, now I'm going to just show you where I got all this information from. Shout out to this guy whom I do not know. His name is Shiva Mishra. No, he did a perfect job, an excellent job of creating a write-up on how to manually install OpenVAS, which actually a lot of people had problems trying to do themselves. Myself included. I did build it successfully before, but I ran into certain problems. So Shivam actually created a very good write-up on how to basically get a perfect and stable install of OpenVAS. And yeah, basically this is I'll put a link to his write-up. Okay, and I also put a link to something called the greenbone-feed-sync, which is like a script to for you to automate the updating of the Greenbone community feeds. Okay, so first and foremost, how do we log in? Like I said, you either go to the IP address or you go to the local host, port 9392, okay, HTTP or HTTPS, depending on how you set it up. And during the installation, of course, the username that you created for your admin console, and you just sign into it. And this is what you will see by default. This is the default dashboard, okay, so I'm going to try to create a target now and show you how it looks like. So the first thing we do is that we go to configuration and we go to targets, and inside target we will create a new target. So in this case I have a vulnerable Windows 10 VM that's running, and I'm going to scan this Windows 10 VM. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to try to get the IP address. So the IP address is 172.16.16.115. So you go to OpenVAS and we're going to create a new target, and let's just call this Win10. Okay. Now for the host, um, we can just use a single IP address, or if you want to, you can actually create a file, just a simple text file with a list of IP address. Okay, each IP on one line, and save it as a .txt file, and you can actually import the file. Okay, you can import the file. You can actually have scan a whole list of IP addresses. So obviously, because I'm using the free version of OpenVAS, I'm not able to scan like do very fanciful kind of scanning across multiple subnets and things like that. There's certain limitations to it, but the enterprise edition actually allows you to do that. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to show you how to scan a single target. Okay, um, and basically what we're going to do is that I'm just going to scroll down. Okay, you can just keep everything as default and you just click save. Okay. Oh, okay. In this case, I already have a target that's already here. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it as it is. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scan config. Okay. Now, even though there's pre-made scan configs for you to actually choose from and use. However, the default templates for scan configs, they do include a lot. For example, uh, like the full and fast template, it has 58 families with 142,925 MVTs. MVTs is basically the vulnerabilities that it scans for. Okay, and this will take a very long time. So what you want to do is narrow down, because if you are in charge of a certain, let's say your company's infrastructure, if you're running all your servers on VMware ESXi servers or Nutanix and things like that, you would have a list of all the IP addresses of all your servers, right? And you will know how many Windows servers, how many Linux servers you have, how many FreeBSD servers you have, how many Solaris servers you have, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, you want to create a scan config that suits that particular group of servers. So for example, I'm going to scan all Windows servers, so I just create a scan config for Windows servers, and then later on I just create another config to scan all my Linux servers. Okay, that's basically how it works. Okay, so you just go to config and you just click on new scan config and just give it a name. I'm just going to call it Win10 scan. Okay, and I'm going to select base with a minimum set of MVTs. Okay, because what I'm looking for is not the generic kind of vulnerabilities, but I'm looking for specific Windows related. That means all those which are posted on the MS Bulletin and things like that. For example, like you see certain when Microsoft publishes it, you see certain names like MS17010, MS08-067, MS12-020. All these are Windows Security Bulletin vulnerabilities. Okay, which means very likely the exploit code can be found either on exploitdb, or it can be found you can actually find you can find the attack code for it, the exploit code for it within Metasploit itself. Okay, you can actually attack those. So I'm going to just start off with a base with a minimum set of MVTs. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to this. I'm going to edit my Win10 scan. Okay, it takes a little bit of time to load because there's a lot. And I'm just going to scroll all the way down because Windows is all the way at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I check these two boxes to select all the Windows vulnerabilities that I'm going to scan for. Okay, there's also a lot of like network vulnerabilities if you want to scan for, but I'm not going to cover that. So I'm just going to scan for Windows. They have some which are already pre-selected, so we can just leave it as it is. Okay, and yeah, just save it. All right, and you can see that it basically shows as let me see if I can just refresh it a little bit. Yep, okay. So it has two families, which is basically the Windows family of operating systems, and then you have 3,654 MVTs to scan for. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a scan job. So you just go to task. Okay, and we're going to just create a new. I already have a Windows 10 that I scanned earlier, so I'm just going to delete off this one. Okay, just create a new one to show to you how it looks like, and I'm just going to call this Win10. Okay, and I'm going to select the target that was created earlier. So the target is Win10. And I'm going to say no to adding the results to assets. Adding the assets means it's kind of like for you to build an asset list of all the servers that you have and things like that. But I'm not going to do that because I want to speed up the scanning. Okay. Um, yeah, and you can just kind of like scroll down and you see scanner wise, I have a limitation to it because this, like I said, this is a free version. If you use the enterprise edition, you can create your own custom scanners. Okay. So I'm just going to create a new scan. Sorry, I'm just going to select the new scan config that I created earlier, which is Win10 scan. Okay. And I can just leave the rest as the default, but I'm going to change something to make it go a little bit faster. So this is the maximum concurrently executed MVTs per host. So I'm going to change this to 100. No, sorry, I'm going to change this to 1024. Okay, I have plenty of resources on this VM to run a scan. So yeah, let me just save that. Okay, so once you save it, you can see that, oh, there's a new scan job that's been created. Now take note that you can schedule this scan job, but I'm not going to do the scheduling. I'm just going to fire it off straight right now. Okay, and I'm just going to let me just go and check one more time to make sure that my target is correct. Okay, um, Win10 is 115. All right. So let me go back to scan, to my scan job, and let me just fire this off, okay? Now, while this is firing off, I'm going to just pop back to our objectives. So we have completed all these objectives already, and the secondary objectives will be the community feeds, which I want to talk a little bit about, okay? So uh, unfortunately, for the free version of OpenVAS, when you go to your administration and you go to feed status, these are basically the feeds, the community feeds that you want to download, right? But there's no easy way to actually trigger the download and things like that. So um, I think this guy called Pascal I'm not sure, Hotels or something, who created this whose GitHub page actually has a script called the greenbone-feed-sync to automate this for you. Okay, so you can just go through the installation and get it installed. And once you have it installed, let me just show it to you how the commands actually look like. Okay, so the commands look something like this. Okay, so if you want to update, you just open up a terminal. Okay, and you can start off by running the NVT sync first. Okay, to update the first one, and then subsequently the rest of it, you can just yeah, you can just copy and paste the commands. I will include the commands and whatever links that is inside the description, so you guys can just copy and paste to update your feeds. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's about it for community feeds. Pretty straightforward. And do note that when you trigger the community feed, it will take some time to download and update. So be patient. Okay, OpenVAS is a little bit different, a little bit slower in a sense. So just, I mean, because it's a free version, right? If you have the enterprise edition, you'll be getting your feeds from a different source. So those sources actually have priority, so you'll be able to get the feeds faster. But this is the free version. The free version has certain limitations to it as well. So it's like it may not really have all the latest Windows vulnerabilities. So it's a little bit behind that of the enterprise feeds. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Let me see if it's still running. The scan. Let me just go back to scans. Yeah, it's almost done anyway. So we do have a little bit of time. I want to talk a little bit about the dashboard. Dashboard is pretty simple. You can just kind of like create a new dashboard. Okay, you can select what you want. Usually I just start with empty and then I just fill up the dashboard with whatever information I want to have displayed. Okay, I already have one that's created called a custom dashboard. So over here you can see that I have quite a number of things going on at the same time. If you want to add to this, you just click on add and you can just select either like a chart or a table. So for example, like you can add a chart for task by severity class. You can also add a table for task by severity class. Okay, so yeah, you can add stuff to your dashboard. Basically, the dashboard is pretty good to have. To create a custom dashboard, it helps you to actually get a better understanding of your cybersecurity posture. Where do you stand? For example, let's say if I have 1,000 servers, I want to know exactly like how many of them are vulnerable, how many of them are patched, how many of them are actually unpatched, and they have certain vulnerabilities that I need to actually look into, and I need to patch them, and things like that. Okay, so the dashboard actually helps with that. Okay, yeah. So I have some information over here that shows me like, oh, which are my most vulnerable operating systems and so on and so forth. Okay, obviously all the boxes here are vulnerable because these are the boxes that I use for my home cyber range for testing actually. So I got a whole bunch of like Windows or Linux boxes. Some of it I downloaded, some of it I built myself using ChatGPT. So that I can just fire off exploits against them to test the exploits and see how it works and things like that. It's all part of my cybersecurity as a cybersecurity person, right? If you do love cybersecurity a lot, you will be always interested in all these kind of latest exploits and things like that. So I mean, of course, the exploits over here are old, but old exploits doesn't mean it's not good because old exploits means that I mean, it's good for like studying, right, to learn how they actually work. Okay, so yeah, I do have all these things. And yeah, it's pretty cool. The information you have over here, you have things like host topology. You can see how many hosts you have which are vulnerable. There's even something like a results vulnerability word cloud. So this is based on after the scan job is done, you can actually generate a report. And oh yeah, I haven't included creating a report over here, but I'll cover this as well. Okay, I'll show you guys how to actually churn the report out. How do you save the report? Because sometimes management may want to take a look at the report, so you need to churn out the report and show it to them. Yeah, so anyway, this vulnerability word cloud is kind of like taken from all the reports, which are it's kind of like they put everything together for you, and they pull certain words out from there. So from this cloud, you can see certain words like, for example, like VSFTPD. So it means that, oh, I have a VSFTPD vulnerability, things like that, or maybe like, for example, like oh, SSH, I have some kind of SSH vulnerability or SMB1 vulnerability and things like that. So these are things that you can look into to have a better understanding of what is your cybersecurity posture. How secure are you? Okay. Let's just go back to the scans, and I think it's completed. Okay, Win10. So you just click on the report, and you see a whole bunch of other tabs. You can just click on results. Okay. Now for the reports, they kind of like classify it by like high, medium, and low, right? So those which are low, low or information, you can kind of like just ignore them. It's not really of a not, they're not. I mean, they're not much of a threat, so you don't need to worry about it. Uh, Probably the ones in medium, you may want to take a look when you have time. Um, these are the basically saying that this system is giving out too much information that can be used to enumerate for enumeration purposes to actually launch an attack against you. Okay, but the ones you should be looking into immediately would be the ones which are high severity. Okay, so for example, if I click on this one, okay, it shows it gives me some information like what are my affected Windows operating systems, some servers, and some Windows kind of client workstation kind of operating systems which are vulnerable to this. And it tells me even like is there what kind of fix they have, for example, like vendor fix. This means that Microsoft actually has released cumulative patches over the years to actually patch this vulnerability. Okay, and if you want to see the vulnerability name, just look at the top, the summary. It says Microsoft Bulletin MS17-010. Okay, so this is basically Eternal Blue. This is the Eternal Blue exploit, and there are other kind of like variations of the Eternal Blue exploit. For example, like a Blue Keep and things like that. There's even like a Eternal Blue PS exec kind of exploit you can use for command injection. Okay, so like assuming, like, say the server you're trying to target actually has some kind of like of antivirus that's blocking the payload. Uh, because the payload that is when you use Metasploit, the payload that's being uploaded is an exe file. So if there is an antivirus, it will stop the exe file. However, if you switch over to the PS exec, you'll be able to do a command injection. So even without being able to upload the payload, you can still fire off commands. For example, like the net use command, you can actually create a user account for yourself. You can add yourself to the remote desktop group, and you get the idea, right? You can just RDP into the server afterwards. Okay, so yeah, that's basically how we determine what kind of exploits we have on our servers. So this is how you look for. This is how you look for the results after the scan. Okay, yeah. And if you want to download this as a file, as a report that you can either send to your bosses or to your colleagues, just click on this. Okay, there's this little download icon. And over here, you can just select the format that you want to use. There's text format as well. I prefer PDF. You can also have XML format as well, but I prefer PDF. Okay, so you can just save it as a PDF file. Okay, it takes some time, so it will churn the report for you. And yeah, basically once you have the report, you can actually kind of like open it. Let me just show it to you and just double click. And the report in the PDF format actually looks like this. It's a little small, so I can just zoom into, yeah, just to show it to you how it looks like. Okay, so this is an automatic security scan, and you can kind of like just scroll down. You can see what kind of certain details about the host, and then it tells you, oh, yeah, TCP port 445 has a critical security update. Okay, MS Bulletin MS17010 Eternal Blue. Okay, yeah. So this is basically the kind of reports that you want they can send out or email to people. Um, I have not set up notification, by the way. Notification allows you to send out those reports automatically to yourself or to your superiors and things like that. Okay, so that is possible as well, or even to the other teams like the network team, the infra team, and things like that. Yeah, so that's basically about all for today. Yeah, I went really fast through this thing because I just wanted to do a quick primer on OpenVAS without going too much into all the details. So if you have time, you can just go and poke around with it, build the OpenVAS machine yourself. This was built on an Ubuntu 22.04. This is I think it's Jammy Jellyfish. Yeah, Jammy Jellyfish or something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, that's all for today, and thank you for watching.